Hey guys, Sorin here. So let's talk about airflow in a PC case. The basic stuff you need to know in order to properly set up your PC case for a nice and cool PC. So when we talk about airflow, we're talking about how the air moves inside your PC's case. So after setting it up, you will probably be able to pull off almost 3 types of pressure inside your case, the pressure of the air inside your case. We have negative pressure. That means that you have more exhaust air and fans than intake fans, so more air is getting forced out than pushed in. Neutral pressure, and that means it's sort of a balance. I mean, the same amount of air is forced into the case and forced out of the case. That's kind of hard to achieve, actually. And positive pressure. Positive pressure refers, obviously, to the scenario in which you have a lot of fans pushing air into the case and fewer fans pushing air out of the case. Now, in terms of performance, my favorite one, but not purely because of performance but for convenience sake, is positive pressure, because we have a more controlled way of directing the air. When you have a positive pressure, most of the air that comes into the case comes controlled by the fans you set up as an intake. And if you have dust filters, which you should have, there's less dust to go into the system. Negative pressure, on the other hand, refers to the fact that you have a lot of air pushed out. What does that mean? That means that the intake fans will not be the only things that get air into the case. Your PC will basically be just like a mini vacuum, and it will suck air through all the little holes from the case. And no case is perfect. I mean, okay, maybe very expensive ones are pretty damn near, but normal cases will have a lot of holes and stuff in it, so more dust will get into your PC. You don't want that. I mean, if you don't mind cleaning it up more often, whatever. But I prefer positive pressure. Now, in terms of how we should set our coolers up, the basic stuff you should need to know are that hot air rises, and the usual convention is that in the front we have intake fans, on the rear we have exhaust fans. Also, if your case allows for positioning fans on the top, usually they are used for exhausting hot air. On the bottom we have the intake. As I said, hot air rises. Do keep in mind the fact that on some cases even your PSU can act as an exhaust fan, as its main role is to take out air, and the back opening of the PSU can also get some hot air out of the case. Basically, your main focus point should be your hotter components. Those usually are the GPU in a gaming system and the CPU. So if you focus on having those as cool as possible, you're pretty much settled. The next basic thing you should really take care of is positioning the fans. I mean, the proper positioning in sense of how the air moves through the fan. The air moves like this. The pulling part, when the air comes into the fan, is the one that is free. That's how you tell. And the exhaust part is the one that has these protections, these usually 4 legs. So that's how you tell if you need to put the cooler like this or like this, depending on what you want it to do. To take in air, to exhaust air. Just be careful of this. Sometimes on some models it's really easy to overlook, and then you'll spend a couple of minutes reorganizing everything. Again, with the fans, when buying a fan, we should really look at the CFM rating, and that refers to the cubic that refers to the cubic feet per minute, and it refers to how much air can it move per minute. Obviously we like a higher value over here, so our fan will move as much air as possible in order to cool our system better. Be aware though that higher CFM means higher noise. Just like higher RPM means higher noise. And when we're talking about noise, usually bigger fans require less RPM in order to push the same amount of air, and that results in a lower noise emission. So if you want a silent build, please keep that in mind, and also look for fans that support pulse width modulation, PWM. Fans that support that and you plug them into your motherboard can have their RPM adjusted based on the current temperature of the system. That's pretty useful when you want a dead silent PC when you're watching a movie, and you can then ramp it up when you're playing a hardcore game or something and you want everything to be as cool as possible. Still with the fans, you should know that when buying fans you usually can find fans with two types of fins. The fins is these wings of the fan. They are airflow meant ones and static pressure meant ones. Airflow, as the name suggests, means that the cooler the fan is optimized for pushing a lot of air, and static pressure ones means that they are optimized for pushing air with more force. The only scenario that comes into mind is when you have a fan and behind it you have an intake fan and behind it you have a couple of SSDs, and you need to make sure that it pushes air properly so you get a high pressure one. I mean, the fan is semi-blocked, so you need a high pressure one. Well, as far as I saw, there are no major differences, and I usually prefer the airflow optimized ones. They do just fine, especially from a reputable brand, and cleaned often. So that's about it regarding to the basics of airflow. If you'd like to see more videos regarding topics like how to clean your computer case, how to properly cool your computer, don't hesitate to leave me a comment. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you next time. Bye.